Once upon a time, not long ago, lived a happy man named Mr. Bumblesbee. Now, Mr. Bumblesbee was especially happy today because he had just received some good news. We open the story with Mr. Bumblesbee at his home receiving the news.
Mr. Bumblesbee, your name was drawn from all of the contestants, and you are the winner. You are to report to the Seattle Seahawks training camp this weekend. How do you feel about this, Mr. Bumblesbee? Hello? Hello? Mr. Bumblesbee, are you there?
Oh, yes. I must have fainted. It's hard for me to believe that I get to spend a whole day with the Seahawks.
Very well, Mr. Bumblesbee. We will be looking forward to seeing you on the practice field. By the way, we start at 6:30 in the morning by doing all of our exercises.
6:30? Why, that's really early, but I'll be there. I wouldn't want to miss this for anything in the world. Who's there?
Lisa. Rhonda.
Bob. Oh, I won't have time to play today, kids. I've won a contest, and I'm going to spend tomorrow at the Seahawks training camp as their special guest.
Well, Mr. B and the children were excited, and as we return to our story, they're approaching the gate to the Seahawk camp.
There's the gate, Mr. Bumblesbee, right over there. And there's Jim Zorn, the quarterback for the Seahawks.
Hi, Mr. Bumblesbee. Welcome to our training camp. If you have any questions or need some help, let me help you. Looks like we're getting ready to start practice. Want to come with me and get yourself into shape?
Sure. Why not?
As the morning progresses along, Mr. Bumblesbee is beginning to notice how out of shape he is. He huffs and puffs and continues with the rest of the group.
This is work. I never knew that these men were in such good shape.
You're slowing down, Mr. Bumblesbee. Keep moving.
Yes, Coach.
As the day goes on, Mr. B begins to feel at home with all the football players, and after lunch, Mr. B is invited to turn out with the kicking team. Mr. B, would you like to practice with the kicking team?
You mean me? Kick a ball? Why, sure, I guess.
Hang in there, Mr. Bumblesbee. I think the coach likes you.
I guess I'll give it a try. Ready? Oh, set. Oh, hike.
Kick the ball, Mr. B. Well, the next thing Mr. B remembers, he's being smothered by the whole defensive team. Mr. Bumblesbee, are you all right? You forgot to kick the ball.
Well, what am I doing here?
Here, Mr. Bumblesbee, let me help you up. Why don't you go sit down for a while, and after practice, will you come to my house and bring your friends?
Sure. I think I'll sit down and rest a little bit.
Well, the practice ended, and afterwards Mr. Bumblesbee, Jim Zorn, and the children got into Mr. Bumblesbee's car and headed for Jim Zorn's house.
Are you okay, Mr. Bumblesbee?
Sure. I just didn't know I was that much out of shape.
Mr. Zorn, if you want, Mr. Bumblesbee can check your house to see if it is fire safe, because he's a fire safety expert.
Well, I think that's a great idea. Everybody should have their house inspected.
Can we have your autograph, Mr. Zorn?
Sure. Well, I just happened to bring along 3 autographed footballs, which the whole team signed.
All right.
Here we are. Let's go inside. Make yourself at home, and I'll bet I have some milk in the refrigerator.
This is really a nice home, Mr. Bumblesbee. I bet this house could never catch fire.
Here's your milk. Why don't we walk through the house, and you can point out different fire hazards.
Okay, thank you. First of all, fireplaces should always have a screen, and papers and other combustibles should be kept away so a spark does not catch them on fire.
And don't forget, Mr. Bumblesbee, electric baseboards, heaters, and portable heaters can start fires too. And furniture and clothing should not be pushed up against them.
Those are very important points. I hope everybody keeps their house fire safe.
One of the most important things to have is a smoke detector.
I have one, Mr. Bumblesbee. I know they're important to have. Here, let's check to see if it's operating properly.
What about matches, Mr. Bumblesbee?
Matches should be kept out of the reach of the younger members of the family. Give them to an adult.
There's so many different fire hazards, you always have to be alert. Let's go out in my garage and see if there are any fire hazards out there.
Okay. That furnace has a fire inside. So boxes and paper stored too close can easily burn, and then can easily start a fire in your home. So don't store anything close to the furnace or the hot water tank.
Mr. Bumblesbee, I think this has been my lucky day. You've taught me so much about fire safety. I've really learned a lot.
By practicing a lot in football, you become good. And it's the same in fire safety. You have to practice what you're going to do so that in case there is a fire, you will know exactly what to do.
As the day ends, Mr. Bumblesbee and the children head homeward. It had been a long day, and everyone learned a lot. But I wonder, are we really doing enough about fire safety?
We'll begin the meeting with Wordsworth, as we have in the past. And this time, however, I'm going to introduce Mona Lake Jones, who's going to not only be our poet today, but she's also going to be our curator to the end of the year. And Mona, would you also like to say a few words about yourself?
I know that you all are about making some very monumental decisions and about very serious business. And so I chose one of my pieces today that speaks to that, and it's called The Challenge of Perplexity. Sometimes it's good to sit perplexed and to wonder what may be coming next. It gives importance to your being when you're not clearly seeing, for you have the need to ponder and to let your mind roam and wander, looking for concrete words to say why things are this way. Now, sometimes you may find it difficult to draw conclusions because reality may mix with your illusions. And it may seem that when your thinking becomes blurred, that's when your greatest solutions have occurred. For it's at that moment when you have examined all that is at stake that you figure out which path to take. And you're glad when your prediction has come true and it turns out that you knew. But when life decides to take a different turn, then simply view it as a lesson learned and know that sometimes it's good to sit perplexed and to wonder what may be coming next. And the other very short one is to talk about the sweetness of life. And I thought since the sun was out all dressed up today, that we could talk about that sweetness and know that life is sweet. It's like a dish of warm berry pie with fresh cream melting on the top, tasting so good you have to tell yourself to stop. Life is so sweet that sometimes you have to pause for a cool drink of water because the sweetness, it's almost more than you can stand. Life is sweet. It makes your body shake with joy, and it stirs your soul when happiness reaches in and takes hold. Life is so sweet that sometimes you need to just lie still and contemplate, because the sweetness can be almost more than you can stand. Life is sweet. It's a bed of roses with a soft breeze blowing through, and all the fine fragrances of life seem to be surrounding you. Life is so sweet that sometimes you have to close the door or open it to let the aromas out, because the sweetness is almost more than you can stand. Life is sweet. It's a choir singing praises, raising their voices in melodic phrases. Life is so sweet that sometimes you have to clap your hands, stomp your feet, and say, amen. Because the sweetness, it's almost more than you can stand. Life is so sweet.